let me see how good this is. I think for the moment, for the time being, we might be okay. For the time being, we might be okay. Looks pretty good though. Hopefully we'll get put in the thing quite soon. Hopefully it'll be a good race tonight. This Shanghai circuit is very difficult in its own right. So why is this? Oh, there we go. Now it's fully screwed in. Yes, very good. Now it's almost like I have an actual microphone, which is quite nice. About 15 minutes to go to race time here. Hopefully we'll be in for a good one for the Shanghai circuit in Shanghai, China. So pretty much if I talk at like a normal level like this, it's not bad. But if I get really loud, I'll go back over here like this. That might be pretty good. Oh, thank you, Jag Cheb, for the invite. Here we go.
He ends up making a huge mistake. While working at a construction site, he noticed that he could slide down this hill, but his excitement turned into fear once he actually started going down. The hill actually looks great to slide down, and I wouldn't mind giving it a shot, but I might change my mind after this reaction. He's fine, and the guys had a great laugh. He ends up...
So you take these shots, and as you're taking them, that alcohol is building up in your system fast. So alcohol goes to your brain within 5 minutes and starts to affect you. But maybe what you don't know is your liver only metabolizes 1 ounce of alcohol per hour. So I just had 5 ounces of alcohol in my system. I would never drink it that fast, and this is water for demonstration purposes. I've got 5 ounces of liquor in my system right now. At the end of an hour, I'm only going to burn off 1 ounce. So I'm going to have 5 ounces of alcohol left in my bloodstream. My liver can't metabolize it that fast. So I'll give you $100.
Interesting.
Hey, liquor store bro.
Oh, what's up, dude?
Hey, I'm looking to cop like an eighth or a quarter if that's like the smallest quantity you'll do.
Well, like a quarter of what?
Dude, distillate.
Technically, man, it's all distillate. But what strain are you looking for?
Oh, definitely something high in terps.
Okay, so what I'm going to recommend you is not distilled, but it uses an ancient extraction method known as brewing.
Oh, full send. Spark it up, bro.
No, oral consumption only.
Stop building nether portals like... I have a voice cameo of a pig in a Disney XD cartoon called Gravity Falls. It's a farmhouse, and there's a pig that lives with everybody. And the pig eats some slop that the kids are told makes you smarter. They went to sleep putting the slop on their forehead, thinking it would get into their head and make them smart. But the pig sees it on their forehead and licks it off of their forehead. And then overnight, the pig becomes a supreme genius, builds an atom smasher, builds a voice translator. And while the pig is smart, I'm its voice. Greetings, friends. It is I, Waddles the pig.
That's funny. Hope everybody's doing all right tonight. All you folks over there on the European side of the world. The Shanghai circuit in China tonight. Oh boy, goodness me! I forget. I'm sitting in a chair. I, it's always I do typically stand whilst I whilst I broadcast, and here I am sitting down at the moment, and I nearly just fell flat back on the other side of my head. That scared me just a little bit, but we're okay. You ever get that sometimes where you're just like sitting in a chair and then you forget where the limit of the chair is, and you almost just like you get that sensation of just like falling backwards, because that's about what I just had. Hopefully, we should have a decently full grid tonight. That's what I'm hoping for, at least. I think we have a full 20 checked in. If I can double check that, should be. Let me know if the mic is too loud or too quiet or something like that. Naturally, I'm trying to be a little bit more normal volume as I talk like this, but if I need to get really loud, I'll put it away like this. That'll kind of be like the average of what we do, but you already know. Just getting all the standings and whatnot because we like doing that. We like being prepared for our job. I believe, yeah, we should be getting a lot of people tonight. I'm not entirely sure. How many are checked in? Can we check the check-in? Yeah, I think we have everybody. Huh. Appreciate y'all joining. Looks like we about have everybody in. You know, okay, give me 2 seconds, but if I need to stand during this broadcast, I may want to consider getting the keyboard. That way it's a little bit easier to switch in between. Although I don't quite rightly know how to use the keyboard as far as the game is concerned. I don't really do that, but it's an interesting question. Perhaps. Because sitting in this chair is, as much as it's a nice chair, don't get me wrong, it's a little low to the ground compared to where I have the screen at. So allow me 2 seconds just to kind of perhaps raise the chair a little bit, and then I don't actually think there is a. Oh, there is. Oh yeah, look at that. That is quite good. That is the tallest chair I think I've ever seen at this point. How good. Oh, that's actually quite perfect because now I don't have to tilt my neck backwards so much. Getting ever so closer to race time here. Should be getting ready to go at some point. Hopefully. I say hopefully, you never know. Oh, and the chair just lowered again. 5 minutes to go. That was odd. All I did was... I don't even know, man. Oh, I have unread notifications in my friends list. I wonder what that is. Yeah, this may just be a no for this chair. Honestly, it's a good chair, but I cannot have my neck tilted upwards like this the whole time. I already have neck problems as it is. Perhaps at this point it might actually be easier, yes. I'm not entirely sure, but I feel like Murray Walker commentating snooker. Or snooker. 4 minutes to go here, hopefully, until the race begins. We've got 17 out of at least the 19 that I know of. I think Goon might be joining slightly late. Could be wrong, but I think that's basically the gist of what I've gotten. I wish there was like a bar stool or something for me to sit on now. Well, there actually is some upstairs. I don't think I have enough time to run upstairs and get them yet. I think we're going to be looking at the 18 drivers or so. Pretty close to having a full grid. Two minutes to go now. Perhaps can I have it? Sorry, I'm gonna check the mic one more time, but this time what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stand up here slightly closer, right about there. Now I'm gonna go into my mic settings now and just adjust the mic level. How's that? That's pretty good. Maybe a little quiet, but we can make it louder. That's probably pretty good there. Maybe a little bit more. That better? That definitely kind of seems better, but maybe a little bit more. I would rather be too loud than too quiet. So we'll have to wait and see. About a minute to go here until the race. The qualifying session begins. Should be. About a minute to go here until we are officially ready to go. I'm going to make sure I'm in the party and whatnot, and yeah, it says I am, which is good. The last thing I want is to be like recording in a. I've actually done that a couple of times where I'd be like trying to broadcast the race, and then I'll actually be like in the race lobby with no without the party and just be talking in the race. Okay, that's pretty good. So I'll do this then. We've got about 15 seconds to go here. Hard recording has started. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the fourth round of the JAG Sunday Series season here at the Shanghai International Circuit in Shanghai, China. The fourth round of what's been a very entertaining season so far. Hotspot on the call with you once again here for the second season, the fourth round of this second season. We got a full, I believe, 20 on the grid tonight. What a race it was last time out in Saudi Arabia last Sunday. What we did have, it was that of Maple Ace and the Aston Martin taking the win, Marsbar second, Reimer third. Most importantly, it was that of our championship leader of Zench in the Haas, who only finished P10 from fourth on the grid. So while he still does have the lead in the Drivers' Championship, it's only by 4 points now over that who won last week's race of Maple Ace. 66-62 is the current point standings as far as that's concerned. So big race for you here today. As we look and see, do we have weather to be had? No, it looks a pretty clear day so far here in Shanghai. You can never... There is typically sometimes weather afoot. It's not as common as other tracks, but it's not that bad whatsoever. It's not nearly as bad as some of the other circuits we visit. And speaking of circuits visiting, I believe Real F1 has not been here since the 2019 season. Scheduled to come back here on, I believe, April, maybe May. In real life, it's in that first couple of stretch of rounds, and I believe the last time we did visit here was, I think, the 1000th F1 Grand Prix. Perhaps, I don't remember. That was I'm not gonna lie to you. I wasn't a fan prior to the 2020 season, but that's going off of what I think might be true. I could be wrong. Looks like our championship leader of Zench is going to be out on track first. While we have a moment here, let's take a look and go over our driver and constructor standings. So for the driver's standings, as we mentioned, Zench atop the table at 66, Maple Ace 62, Reimer 58. Very close amongst that top three drivers. 8 points separate the top three. Jag Cheb in fourth at 40. Bergen 37, Marsbar 35, 33 for Greg, 25 for DWCJ, 24 for Stims, Adonis with 21. He's actually tied with Fear Luke at 21 apiece. Peak Hour, Manny K, Bannock Lash, Idle North, and York Pudding round out the top 16 drivers. Mariano Goon, Leknevek, and WEG, Rise, and Algeri round out the table. 23 drivers have been classified so far this season. As far as the constructor standings are concerned, Ferrari leads the way by only 4 points over the Haas team. Remember, Haas led the first 3 rounds of the... well, I don't want to say first 3 rounds of the championship. I do believe the Alpines had the lead going through rounds 1 and 2. Ferrari atop the table at 95, Haas 91, Aston Martin 76. They lead Alpine by 3. That's 73. Williams lead Alfa Romeo by a point for P5, 49 to 48. McLaren lead Red Bull by a whole point here, 35 to 34. AlphaTauri at 21, and Mercedes with a lone 3 points. So, here we are now. Zench, the championship leader, about to begin a timed lap of the Shanghai circuit as he rounds the 16th and final corner. Down the pit straight he goes. Take a look at his top speed here. Now, these first 3 corners are so difficult. They are the most patience-testing corners in all of F1. It's one of the rare sights on calendar that we see not a tight corner heading into the first corner. They're like a 90-degree left or right-hander. This one is so winding and ridiculously long. 1, 2, and 3 exits for through turn 5 now into a tight right-hander at turn 6. That's sector 1. What you've just seen there. Next to a couple sweeper corners here of turn 7. Turn 8 after that. Turn 8 slightly tighter. As you can see, he's taking a slight deacceleration there. Turns 9 and 10. Got to be careful with track limits on the exit. Looks like he's done well down this little straight here. And towards 11, 12, and 13. This is a very fun complex of corners, considering with the amount of DRS on the way out. As we'll see with Zench here very shortly now. They did shorten this DRS zone compared to what it used to be. The DRS used to start about right here. It is now starting right there, about 300 meters of difference as you make your way down in towards this double right-hander here of turn 14 and 15. Turn 14, so incredibly tight of a corner here. Definitely going to cause some carnage during the race. Exits turn 15 nicely into the left-hander of turn 16. Got to be careful of the track limits on the way out. Let's see, does he keep it? Yes, he does, and I believe that is where, was it Daniel Kvyat or Alex Albon had a hefty off, and I think a qualifying session there. But Zench goes 131, 171. Not a bad lap to start. Rise has gone second. Peak Hour has gone third. For the time being, and I believe we have just had the Haas of DWCJ, Zench's teammate, won about a second and a third off here of Zench. Taking that second spot, it's a Haas 1 and 2 at the moment, as the AlphaTauri of, who is it that just came out? I think, oh, I'm looking at the wrong part. Yeah, it was the Ferrari of Bergen who just crossed the line. Next up was that of Maple Ace, who had just gone P4. Manny K in the McLaren has actually gone P2. Not a bad effort at all from Manny K in the McLaren. Next up, I believe, is going to be the Alfa Romeo of, it's going to be Idle North. Out of turn 16 they go. Medium tires here for Idle North. Currently 134, 343. Off the pace by about 3 seconds here. But what we are seeing is Idle North on the medium tires. That is a very interesting sight, to say the least. I'm quite interested to see what the tire strategy is going to be, considering this is one of the most high degradation circuits on calendar. So many times do we see tires just get beat to hell at this track. Adonis has just gone second. Sheb, meanwhile, has gone fourth. And his teammate of JAG has gone P6, 132, 646. About 0.3 of a second behind his teammate of Sheb at the moment. Next up to the line is the other McLaren of Bannock Lash, who has gone 9th. About a flat 2 seconds off the pace of our leader of Zench at the moment. Next up is, I believe, the Ferrari of Reimer. Nope, he's only just starting one here. Bergen coming to the line now. I do believe this is, well, it is going to count for him. He's gone P6, 132, 617. Not a bad lap at all for Bergen there. He outqualifies Jag Greg for the time being by about 3/100ths of a second. Very, very good lap from him. Next up is the AlphaTauri of Fear Luke coming around the line. I believe he's got one of the Aston Martins behind him. As Fear Luke, P4, 132, 193, puts himself just about a second Back to the leader of Zench at the moment. Zench has arguably a stranglehold on the field at the moment. 0.6 of a second clear of the Mercedes of Adonis for the top spot at the moment. That is a massive, massive gap. We do have Stefan coming around the line now. Across the line, he's going to go, and it's going to be P14, 133.552 for the other Red Bull. Next up, I believe it was the Alpine of Jag Greg on his way in. We do have the Ferrari of Reimer, third place in the championship at the moment. As he makes his way around the final corner, this is his first attempt, 11 minutes to go in the session, and he goes second, 131.754. He clears Adonis by 10 one-thousandths of a second. So for the time being, a lot of competition between at least the top three here. Zench has a pretty good lead on second and third, but those drivers in second and third at the moment have a very, very close margin between the two of them. I think Goon has just joined the session now, so we'll be seeing him shortly. Next up is going to be the Aston Martin of Rise, whether he decides to come in or he's on a timed lap here. I think he is going to be going straight into the pit lane. Next up, it looks as if Peak Hour is going to be on his way in here, and then I think one of the AlphaTauris, well, currently the only AlphaTauri on the grid, that of Fear Luke. I believe he's going to be making his way into the pit lane here. Yep, he's on low fuel. His teammate of Goon, I assume. Yep, there he is. He has just joined the session now with 10 minutes to go, as things are going to calm down just a little bit here. Stefan looks to be on a timed lap here. He's gone about a tenth and a half quicker through Sector 2, but he'll make his way into the pit lane here. It's a very interesting pit lane. Instead of braking into that corner at turn 16, he actually goes straight on. So if you get in a situation where you're battling with somebody and one of you decides you want to go into the pit lane and the other one wants to stay on track, that will get very interesting during the race, I believe. This circuit's definitely one to create some carnage, but also some great racing as well. I mean, I can't remember a bad race that we have had here, at least in my time commentating in the virtual world. Looks as if Zench, current championship leader and provisional pole sitter, back out on track. About 9 minutes to go in the session. We do have Bergen on his way out as well, although he looks rightly slow. That is in a different part of the circuit. I thought he was on track there. I was really confused. He is going about as slow as he can, letting the other drivers get out of the way, and he'll rejoin the circuit there. I didn't actually know that was part of the track there. I was like, why do I see other cars in different parts of the track? That's slightly odd. We do have now, I believe, the Haas of DWCJ on a timed lap now as he makes his way into the first couple of corners here. Let's see what he does. Quite wide through the first and second section, and then towards the back end of the second corner, it does tighten up once again, and then onto the brakes heavily in towards turn 3. Exit as smoothly as you can, exiting 4. Like a pretty solid lap so far. He's about 5/100 slower, however, through that first sector. I'm not exactly sure where he's lost time. I thought it looked pretty clean to me, but the time doesn't lie. His teammate of Zench has just started one. He's making his way into the first corner now. Next up to the line, I believe, was that Alpine of Jag Cheb, who is starting one here. He's going to go along with Zench as he exits turn 4. His teammate of DWCJ making his way into turn 11 and 12 at the moment. Zench has gone purple sector 1, about a tenth and a half quicker than his previous best. A little bit of sliding on the back end there. That would have hurt his time. That was a noticeable slide getting back on the throttle. DWCJ currently about a third of a second quicker through that second sector. Makes his way into turn 14 now. Rides a lot of the curve on the way in. Doesn't use a lot of the exit through turn 15 there. I would assume he was going to use more, but through turn 16 now, this is the crucial part. Does he keep it within the track? Yes, he does. And across the line he goes. It's P4, 132.075, improved by about 4.5 tenths there. Moves within a second of his teammate now. Next up, who I'm interested in, is that of Manny K, making their way in the McLaren. He's going to be heading into Sector 3 at the moment. The driver that's relatively flown under the radar these past couple of weeks, currently about 5.5 tenths slow. We'll see. His Zench make his way through the final corner. Now, oh, another slide on the back end there. That one was noticeable again. And across the line he goes. It is another fastest lap, 131 to 123. Only quicker by 5/100ths of a second. So that time, at least I would assume from his perspective, slightly vulnerable. We'll have to wait and see if that is the case. But what I do know is he was going to be looking for more there, and he had that initial snap of oversteer coming out of turn 6. And then the other one there coming out of turn 16, two noticeable moments for that driver. But I'm sure Zench is going to make his way back in another favorable position quite soon. Reimer, currently second place on the leaderboards for the time being. Second in the championship, making his way in a timed lap here in towards the first corner. Looks as if the Mercedes of Adonis has actually just gone second. Now within 2.5 tenths of Zench. Where else are you going to find 0.2 of a second, though? That is such a crucial question. 5 minutes and 45 seconds remaining in the session now for a Haas-dominated qualifying session so far. Guzman entering the chat, cheering on Reimer. Guzman on a very good streak recently with the CCRL. I don't know what ever happened with the Stewart report, but I believe if it does go his way, he will have won 4 in a row there, which is incredible. That guy has been putting on quite the display recently, as well as Nick Nack for that matter. But 5 minutes and 15 seconds here. I have no doubt that if Guzman was to join the grid here, he would absolutely dominate in this as well. Despite, has to be said, it's interesting where I rank the leagues I commentate on competitiveness, because sometimes it does seem like these JAG grids here do start to, see 1 or 2 drivers dominate, whereas that, with CCRL, we do see, at least last week as well, with the sprint races and everything, having about 3 or 4 drivers trying to make their way to the top. It was a very good. Adonis, is he in the pit limiter? Am I looking at that wrong? Well, he was temporarily. I don't know what's happened there. I saw that on my screen. Coming into the final 5 minutes of the session now, I believe. Yeah, I want to say we're actually well within 5 minutes now. I can't see the time anymore because somebody's deciding to be slow coming out of turn 15. That's one of the Aston Martin pairs. But Luke in a timed lap now, making his way in towards. Oh, he must have just come off one there. He's about 2 seconds slow. Yep, that would be why. We do have that of Maple Ace on low fuel. Making his way into the pit lane. Hopefully he gets off track by the time Goon can come around and put together the remainder of his timed attempt. And no, he is on low fuel as well. The Aston Martin teammate now of Rise on the way in. And I would assume the Red Bull of Stims probably on his way in as well. Yes, so only a few drivers on track now. 3 or 4 to be exact. 3 minutes and 45 remaining in the qualifying session here. Next up around the line, looks as if it's going to be the Williams of Marsbar, currently yet to put together a time, as he's going to be making his way through turn 16 now. Oh, he didn't hold the exit very well there, did he? Lot of back-end movement still. A 132. That's a good lap from him. I'm thinking he probably wishes he could have had more. Had he not had that snap of oversteer coming out of the final corner, he probably could find himself up into the second row at least. He's actually only about 4/100ths behind EWCJ for P4. Zench occupies the top spot here, about 2 minutes to go. He has a 131-123, about 0.2 of a second with a good over Reimer with 3 minutes to go, excuse me. Next up to the line is the Mercedes of WEG. I believe he's going to be starting one here. 2 minutes 45 remaining. 6 drivers out on track at the moment, with, I believe, the Ferrari of Reimer coming on back out on track here shortly, as well as one of the McLarens, actually both McLarens. Actually, several drivers now, as I say that. We're going to be looking at quite a slurry of drivers trying to make their way out on track here. WEG through the first 2 corners so far, in through the third. A little bit wide on exit of the third corner. Corner not bad. Holds acceleration nicely. He'll be coming to the Sector 1 timing line here shortly. Improves by only 6/100ths of a second. 2 minutes and 10 seconds to go now. WEG looking to make his way into the 132s at the moment. Good amount of drivers from P5 down to about P15 there. All within a second of each other. DWCJ starting a timed lap now in the Haas, but he's got a lot of traffic ahead of him. 1:50 seconds remaining now. DWCJ with 1, 2, 3, 4 drivers immediately ahead of him. That's going to be very difficult to navigate here. Especially, I would consider him to be a driver who could have the possibility to make his way onto the first row here if he puts down a good enough lap. He's got to make up about 7/10 of a second. It's a tall order, but him and his teammate now both on timed laps. 90 seconds remaining here. Zench making his way through turn 3 as we speak. Next up, I believe, one of the 2 Red Bull drivers, and then the Mercedes, I think of WEG after that. Not exactly sure how the rest of the lap went for WEG. Looks as if he's going to be trying to come to the line here. And WEG is going to go P12. Shaves off about 7/10 of a second off the time there. 1:05 seconds to go now. Next up, not Reimer, it's his teammate of Bergen starting one here. One half of the current Constructors' Championship leaders. As, who do we have here? Reimer taking his time here. We're going to have one hell of a lot of traffic as they make their way down the backstretch now. I'm hoping, and there's, oh goodness me, well that was the Haas of DWCJ, and you saw that just barely on the back end of your screen. DWCJ was trying his best, and there was 6 drivers ahead of him, all slow on the circuit. DWCJ had to take evasive action, and unfortunately, a timed lap attempt, which I believe could have put himself on the first row, has unfortunately gone spinning away from him there, all not due to his own mistake. I feel there was so much traffic there, and for the drivers behind to not really cede that room to him, that is not the best look there, has to be said. Manny K making their way through, what is that, turn 6 now. I believe it was about a 10th quicker through that first sector. The Haas of Zench, I believe, has just finished his time, although was 5/100 slower on that final attempt here. Adonis making his way through Sector 2 now. Next up to the line is the Red Bull, I believe, of Stims. Oh, what is this? Well, we've got here Fear Luke and, what is this, Marsbar and the Williams. It's either that or Puddin. No, it is Puddin. They were side by side there for a good amount of time. That was slightly odd. Puddin has yet to put together a timed attempt. Fear Luke on a timed lap at the moment, but that one is, well, unfortunately, it's not going to matter too much. That time lap is over. Stefan has finished P18. That's all he can do. We have Stims coming around the final couple of corners now. I believe this is still a flyer for him. Whether he improves or not is going to be the question. Down the pit straight and across the line he goes. He does improve to P6 by about 2.5 of a second there. Up to the third row. 2/100ths clear of Manny K for that 6th spot, who has invalidated the final timed attempt there. Banniclash coming across the line now in the McLaren. 4th for Banniclash, 1:31.945, improves by half a second. And now Reimer to the line here. Does he have anything for pole? No. He's about 2/10 of a second short. A 1:31.313 leaves him again 2/10 of a second short as Chev goes across the line, P4. Well, the drama on that final attempt there for the Haas of DWCJ. Again, unfortunately, nothing he could have done differently for him to avoid spinning there. He's about 4/100ths ahead. He's actually, what is that, 5/1000ths behind JAG Greg for the 6th spot. The top 3 separated by less than 2.5 tenths here. The rest of the grid has a little bit of spreading out, all the way down to P12 as that first second. But Zench, pole sitter here in Shanghai for the 4th round of the season. Oh, and you got to feel for his team at DWCJ. Again, I really think he could have been on for at least 2nd or 3rd row there. I'm sure that one is going to be a steward report later tonight, but it's Zench on pole by less than 2/10 over Reimer in 2nd. 1st and 3rd in the championship right now. 1st and 2nd on the grid, Adonis 3rd, Jag Cheb 4th, Banniclash 5th, Greg 6th, DWCJ 7th, Marsbar 8th, Stims 9th, Manny K is 10th, 11th is Fear Luke, 12th Maple Ace, 13th is WEG, 14th Bergen, 15th Rise, 16th Idle North, 17th is Peak Hour, 18th is Stefan, 19th is Goon, and P20 is that of Puddin. Maple Ace, 2nd in the championship, last week's race winner, currently P12, down by a second. It's going to be a very close one amongst this top 3 here. Let's see if any of these other drivers can force their way into the conversation for the win here. But for the time being, Zench has pole. Can he hold on? Tell you what, that is. It's one thing if you have one driver impeding your time lap there. You got 7 drivers on that backstretch. Yikes. Are you serious? Are these... into... Well, into the rain we go. Goodness me, what... What of a turn of events this is. Into what I believe is the intermediates. I can't quite tell from my camera. Either that or my eyes are just gone off. If I can look on the... I'll bring up the recording on my phone just to see if we're able to... if I can actually tell. I'm pretty sure it's just intermediates for the time being, but either way, raining here in Shanghai. Goodness me. Well, this changes everything now, doesn't it? I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous here to see the rain pouring down here. I mean, if you thought that... I mean, we touched on the ability of weather coming through initially. We saw the sunshine, and we didn't necessarily think twice about rain. Well, we're thinking about it now. Intermediate tires they are for the grid here. As the formation lap underway, I'd like to thank you for... inviting me and JAG into your homes and onto your phones here as we begin the 4th round of the season. Zench on pole here in the wet. This will make things interesting. You could say that again. This is going to be ridiculous here. A track that's very difficult for degradation and for grip as it is. And here we are in the rain. Now, I don't know how long this rain is going to last. That part is true, but what we do know is this. Everybody has chosen the intermediate tires. Reminder that once the rain either subsides or, well, whether or not it subsides or not, if it does go to dry, remember that it does not matter what compound of tire you stick on the car. The rain does get rid of pretty much all the tire compound rules. You could go 2 sets of intermediates. You could go intermediate to wet if you needed to. You could go the whole race on the intermediates, I think. We've seen that happen. That would take a lot of tire saving there, but I believe it could be done. You could, if you wanted to do the nose stop, you could. As much as I think you'd probably be out of your mind for doing that, it's absolutely possible. My look is going to be this. Maple Ace, currently 2nd in the championship, starting P12, was a 2nd behind in the qualifying session. He's got a lot of work to do, and he's got a lot of quick drivers in between him and that top spot. Everybody from about where he's at P12 on up, all within a second of each other. We do have DWCJ there, the Haas, I would think, one of the quicker drivers on the grid. I think that final, I think his grid spot is not done him any justice to how quick he's been. Banniclash put in a great attempt. Banniclash is way at the back on the formation lap here. But Banniclash putting in a final great attempt there, has to be said. But maybe what we're seeing is, you know, Maple Ace saw that the rain was going to happen and then eventually decided, I'm going to put on the wet weather setup for the dry qualifying session. That is a valid possibility, that. Just wondering who else went that route. I would assume Maple Ace did that. Perhaps Mars Bar and the Williams. He's starting down in P8. That's a little bit further back than I would have expected for him. But as the grid forms up here, who's going to get away well, or at least good enough as we have? That is the McLaren there of Banniclash, who is spun coming out of the final corner and has hit the inside wall coming off of turn 16. Unideal, to say the least. But either way, look how far over, pointed to that left-hand side, we see the Ferrari of Reimer. He wants that top spot into the first corner. If he gets away well from Zenshir now, getting a well... These grid starts are not exactly Reimer's forte. He is not one for having explosive starts off the line here. He's going to need a lot of luck. But here we go. As the lights are going to be turning on here in Shanghai for the 4th round of the season, Zench has the ability for a great Grand Prix here today. And the lights are out here in China. Reimer wanted to dart to the left side. I don't think he's going to get there, although he is right alongside the Haas as they make their way into the first corner. Jag Cheb down to the inside. He wanted to make it 3 abreast. Reimer did end up getting the top spot. There is to make their way through turns 1, 2, and 3. Very long and winding left-handed corners, and eventually, well, there goes the Mercedes of Adonis, who started second all the way back now, tumbling down the grid. He makes his way all the way down to 15th after that. Jag Cheb in the Alpine, who had a great start there, now finds himself third, was challenging Zench there for that stop. Lap 14 to 21 is what you see for the intermediate tires if the race stays in the rain. Reimer now leads by 0.8 of a second over that of Cheb, who has gotten around the championship leader of Zench there. Zench did not have himself all that good of a start, but there's Cheb way wide now going through turn 8 as they make their way towards 9 and 10. Now we have a yellow flag in the back. It's the Red Bull of Steffen. Something has gone wrong with him. But Zench, despite getting off the line quite well, was going to be at the disadvantage with Reimer off to the inside, and he lost a spot. Jag Cheb wanted in there as well, and he got in there, and he's done just that. Reimer has a second lead now over that second place as Rise gets around Fear Luke for the 9th spot, as now his teammate of Maple Ace trying to go around the outside of the AlphaTauri here, and he does just that. Manny K, I think, has gone down the inside of Bannicklash here, yes. And now Marsbar getting the spot over Bannicklash as well. Bannicklash has lost a couple of spots here off the opening starts. Jag Greg pressuring Zench now. Oh, and we have now, that is Jag Greg off at the back. Well, he has spun around there in the middle of the corner, and I'm thankful he didn't take anybody else with him, because that was a spin in a terrible position. That will promote Marsbar to 5th. There goes, I believe that was the McLaren of Manny K going really wide, exiting turn 16. Reimer has the top spot for now. Zench down to the inside of Jag Cheb. This is for the 2nd spot. Looking to claw back some of what he lost. Cheb has gone very wide there, nearly into the grass, going through turn 2. Somehow he keeps it on the circuit. Has the inside line through 3, but Zench's acceleration on the outside was going to be way too much for the Alpine to handle there. Very nicely done from the Haas for the time being. We do have Marsbar trying to find his way to the inside of Manny K, perhaps as they make their way towards turn 6. Bannicklash has recovered nicely. He is back within this battle for that 4th spot. That 4th spot has about a 2-second gap to the top 3 now. Bannicklash having to lift there. It's a very tricky couple of corners, this 7 and 8. Got to be careful, as we now have the Mercedes of Weg off at the back, and I believe collects with Steffen, and then the Ferrari of Bergen as well. This is exiting turn 6. Unfortunate there, and Bergen falls all the way to the back, but now a 2-second advantage for Reimer here as he makes his way in towards turns 11, 12, and 13. Little bit of oversteer there as he makes his way. Gets back on the throttle nicely, however. That's a bit of a risky corner to make a mistake through that. The rain is absolutely falling down here. I'm actually a little bit surprised we're not on the full wets with how hard it's raining. Oh no. Well, Cheb seems to have left the session as Bannicklash and Greg side by side here, making their way out of turns 14 and 15. Now, the last time this happened, we saw the lobby and the leaderboards start to go awry, so I'm hoping that doesn't happen again, because the racing has been great so far. Couple of laps in here, Marsbar trying to find the way around Manny K, who has Cheb, the Ghost of Cheb, in the way. The Ghost of Cheb does get to the outside there. Marsbar will take 4th, Manny K promoted to 3rd. Reimer still with a top spot at 2.5 seconds. And now the battle for 3rd place between Marsbar and Manny K as they make their way through turn 6. I believe the Red Bull of Bergen, perhaps at the back. I'm going to take the time now to invite Jag Cheb to the session. And I think he may have got it. I'm hoping he does. As there he is. He's joined. Very good. What we do see now is I think Rise may have had a... Oh, that was Bergen off there, I think. No, it was the Mercedes of Weg who has hit the wall on the inside coming out of turn 4. Has lost the end plate on the left front side of the front wing. but we stay green for now. I was going to go along with the Aston Martin of Rise, who I think lost a couple of spots there. Maple Ace battling now with Jag Cheb, who I believe has now regained control of his car, that being for the 7th spot. Jag Cheb now under pressure from DWCJ behind. Nope, yep, there it is. The car now back under control. As we look now, Mars Bar here battling Manny K for that 3rd spot. DWCJ now trying to make his way to the outside of Jag Cheb here through turn 16. That's going to be risky. Cheb goes wide. DWCJ tried to perform the old switchback there, and he will down the pit straight now. They're going to be side by side into the first corner. Oh, it's going to be risky here, but Jag Cheb does stay ahead. We'll go back with that one in a minute. Mars Bar still trying to find some sort of advantage over the McLaren of Manny K here for the 3rd spot. It's less than 0.5 of a second. This battle has been going on for quite some time now as Adonis losing positions there. I think he may have spun to the inside or something. He's lost about 3 or 4 spots there, making his way through turn 2 and 3. As now it looks as if the Haas of DWCJ also losing spots. Lots of close battles up and down this grid, and I'm afraid a lot of it is just simply mistakes being made, or these overtakes that we are seeing is now DWCJ trying to make something happen to Stims here. As now once again, well, I looked at if he had gone quite wide there. That was odd. 6.5 of a second here, starting to close. I think Mars Bar might be quicker in the straight line. That McLaren has good acceleration, but the top speed is slightly less as Mars Bar trying to use the slipstream as much as he can. What I will say is this, the rain is now falling much less than it was earlier in the Grand Prix. We could start to see the session dry out here as Mars Bar does get down the inside of Manny K very easily and takes the 3rd spot. As that is the Alpine of Jag Greg. Well, he's gone quite wide there, coming out of turn 15, into the grass even. Somehow didn't lose positions in any of that, but either way, that rain definitely getting lighter now. We're still going to be on the intermediates until it stops raining. 0.5 of a second as WEG picks up 5 seconds of penalty there for corner cutting. Once again, this being for the 3rd spot. Mars Bar got the move going down the backstretch in towards turn 14. Manny K still doing good enough to keep up to Mars Bar here. Oh, that was the Haas of DWCJ. Big wiggle there coming off of turn 4. He didn't lose any spots, but he will now as Adonis makes his way down to the inside. That one got sketchy there. Banniclash now trying to find a move on Jag Greg. The McLaren team doing very well so far today. Manny K up 6 positions. Banniclash has lost the 1, but he's at least still in that same vicinity of the position. Matter of fact, if he gets around Jag Greg here, he will get that spot back as Greg goes wide through turn 9 as they exit turn 10. Another wiggle there from the Alpine. I think Banniclash might be in a little bit better of a place with his car at the moment. Whether it stays that way or not. Oh, that's another wiggle there from Greg as they make their way through turn 12. You can just see how tentative Banniclash has to be in getting on the throttle there. Very, very close to losing the car through that corner naturally. Trying to find his way as Reimer, fastest lap for him so far. That's a big wiggle there from Banniclash. Somehow was able to hold on quite nicely. Exiting turn 16 they go. About 1.5 seconds with Maple Ace down to the inside now. This will be for that 6th spot if he can make it happen. Trying to go the long way around. This is going to be difficult through those first couple of corners as WEG, I believe, up to about 8 seconds of penalty now with the 5 for corner cutting and a 3 for multiple warnings, which he's just picked up. I believe that could have been exiting turn 10. Oh, is around. That's Jag Cheb. Or sorry, no, that's Greg. A little bit too much throttle coming off of turn 3 there, and he plummets down the order all the way down to P13 now. Very unideal for him, as he's got a mountain to climb now and a lot of quick drivers in the way. DWCJ being one of them. Adonis, quick in his own right, despite the going down 8 positions so far. He did qualify up there in the order quite nicely. Is Fear Luke and Cheb side by side now as they make their way through turn 8. The left-hander of turn 9 coming up here. He's got the Aston Martin of Maple Ace ahead of him. Still has to be so careful getting onto the throttle. He's not going to make up the spot now, as the Red Bull of Stims trying to find something on the inside of Idle North there. Not quite enough room to make that happen. Manny K still trying to hold on to the second of Marsvar here as they make their way through on down the backstretch now as Bannicklash. Oh, Bannicklash! Well, I thought I had saw a car going off the inside there. He is exiting turn 13. That car was well to the inside of the circuit there and all the way down to P13 now as Reimer the fastest lap. He's got over a second and a half advantage over second place of Zench, who Reimer took that lead, making their way through the first 3 corners and has not looked back since. Idle North here about 4.5 tenths away from Jag Cheb for the 7th spot. Once again, the rain is still falling. It is getting lighter, however. So that would tell me, perhaps, do we see the dry compounds make an appearance in this race? That is going to be the question at hand. We are about halfway through what I would assume the pit window to be for these intermediate tires. Around 14 laps is what the game said. So 7 laps in, it's gonna be tricky because again the rain is still falling, but those tires are going to keep wearing. Five-tenths of a second here for DWCJ, trying to make something happen with Donis. It looks as if, oh, the Williams there of Puddin, and I think Bannicklash as well. Something must have happened with those two, as they had gotten themselves quite wide coming out of turn 6. Fair Luke now trying to get to the back of Maple Ace here for the 5th spot as they make their way towards turn 11. Maple Ace up 7 positions. Driver currently 2nd in the championship. Needs a good result today. And I think for the time being, he may just get it as long as it stays good as Jag Cheb. Oh, Jag Cheb is around again, this time exiting turn 13, similar to where we saw Bannicklash have his spin a couple of laps ago, and I'm hoping he hasn't hit anything there. The track stays green for the most part. I don't think he has had any front wing damage, but either way, a very unfortunate incident for him, as Idle North has either gotten around Stims or Stims has made a mistake. I think it might be the latter, because Stims has now lost the spot to Adonis as well. This is making their way through turn 16. I think he had gone deep into the braking zone at 14, and that is pretty much what resulted in the overtake being made. Here's DWCJ in the Haas now, trying the left-hand side through the first corner. Oh, he's gone very wide there, nearly into the grass. Stims keeps the position for now. And I think if DWCJ kept his line a little tighter, he would have had the spot there over Stims. He was going to have better acceleration there, as we see Adonis and Idle North now battling, as Adonis takes the 7th spot away from the Alfa Romeo for the time being. Good little 4-car battle going on here for that 7th spot. We see Cheb and Puddin in the Williams swapping positions there, that being for P14. Fear Luke now, we're going to check back within that battle in a little bit. Fear Luke now within 4.5 tenths as Bergen spins coming out of turn 3. 3.5 tenths here, starting to stay slightly stagnant. Is that between Fear Luke and Maple Ace? It looks as if Adonis has gotten around Stims, that being for the 7th spot. Again, I think DWCJ had a move there on Idle North, but was slow to the inside coming off of turn 10. He's now lost that position again. Back to the battle here. Here's Fear Luke going to look for the inside on Maple Ace. Does he do it? He's going to look for it. Yes. Yes, he will, to the inside. Who's going to outbrake who here into the corner? It looks as if Fear Luke may have it if it all stays well and they stay clean. Yes, Fear Luke will get ahead for the 5th spot here. Nicely done for the AlphaTauri as the McLaren of Manny K on the way in here. I'm assuming it's another set of intermediate tires, although, again, the skies are not as much raining as they were at the beginning. Intermediate tires once more here for the McLaren. That'll drop Manny K down to about that, probably 15th position there. So the early stop in play now. That was probably one hell of an undercut there, which we didn't exactly expect. If anything, I was going to expect the drivers to go longer on the intermediates, trying to see if and when the race was going to dry up here. But for the time being, the rain is still falling. So Manny K stopping early kind of tells me that perhaps are we going to be looking for a wet race here through and through. Six and a half tenths of a second here for Maple Ace on Fear Luke. This is for the 4th spot. Back down the order, we see Stims about a second away from Adonis. We do have Cheb trying to make the way around the outside. There is Manny K. Oh, and there's contact there, and Cheb's going to go around. Well, that was coming out of turns 9 and 10. And Manny K, credit to the McLaren, doesn't want to go wide out of the corner. And unfortunately, either Cheb ran out of room or he'll probably think that the McLaren cut the front of the car there. Either argument could be made valid. By the way, that'll promote Manny K to 13th there. Baniklash, Manny K's teammate in 12th, just the position ahead. We do have now 7 tenths of a second here. But not exactly closing is this battle for the 4th spot, as Fear Luke stays ahead of Maple Ace for the time being. 10th lap of the Grand Prix underway, the scheduled 28. A little bit further behind, 4 tenths of a second for Stims, trying to find something to Adonis here, perhaps. As Bergen, 3 seconds of time penalty for him for multiple warnings. On the way into turn 6 now, Stims, half a second behind Adonis here for the 6th spot. Grid a little bit spread out here, but we are still seeing some good battles up and down the grid so far. Here we have Baniklash within 2.5 tenths of peak hour. This is for the 11th spot. These two were side by side not long ago. I'm assuming this overtake isn't going to be made until they make their way out of turn 13. That would be my guess, as they make their way through 9 and 10 now. Who gets the better acceleration? It's pretty even off the corner, has to be said. I think, if anything, the Alfa Romeo may have gotten away slightly better. But for the time being, Reimer with the fastest lap again, 1:46.307. The rain still falling. So Reimer is just genuinely finding more and more pace, which to me is just insane. Stims trying to go the outside of Adonis here through turn 14 and 15. Adonis was able to keep the spot on the inside. Unfortunately for the Red Bull, he's having to work very, very hard to get this position. Adonis is defending well, and I think Stims, for the time being, is maybe just not capitalizing at the moment. It's kind of what it seems like. He's doing well to get himself in the position. He's just not quite finding the way around the Mercedes ahead, as Manny K, with the new intermediate tires, goes 1:44.748. Now claims the fastest lap by, 2 seconds over Reimer? Goodness me. We'll check back with that battle in a minute. What we do have now is Jag Greg, who temporarily was in a couple of tenths there of Vital North. It's slightly gotten further away. Closest battle on track is that of Baniklash to peak hour here for P11. Baniklash, who had a very good starting spot, unfortunately had the spin coming out of turn 13 about 4 laps ago-ish, and finds himself now down to P12. 2.5 tenths here. The two McLarens actually side by side. Oh, this is only going to end poorly, and it does! Manny K to the inside. Baniklash was not willing to let his teammate out of the room, and the two McLarens get together And the one who I would argue had the better pace all day so far goes around outside of turn 10. That is going to be a tough one to go over there. As to the inside now, Manny K not losing that much of a beat there. Gets to the inside of Goon and makes the spot happen. Good move. Unfortunate it has to be for that position. As Stims and Adonis side by side, Stims tried to go the long way around. Going through turn 16, unfortunately kind of ran out of room. And Adonis keeps the spot for now as they make their way through turns 1, 2, and 3 here. Jag Greg a little further behind within a couple of tenths of Vital North here, making their way through turn 2. Does he find his way to the inside? Always looking forward. He'll have the outside through turn 3. Does he try to switch back? No, he tries to hang it around the outside here, perhaps with better acceleration. Does he get it? No, it looks as if Vital North will stay ahead for the time being. As it looks as if Jag Cheb has gotten around the Williams of Puddin here. This is involving Manny K as well, who has 2 drivers ahead. To the inside of Puddin, does quite well. Looks as if Idle North's gotten around Jag Greg. Slight bit of contact there between the Williams and the McLaren, as we do have now. Well, I thought a driver had gone off. I believe it was just Weg getting out of the way of the leaders there. As Reimer making his way through turn 14 to 15, now 13 and a half seconds clear of the Haas of Zench, who Zench started on pole. It was only a 0.2 of a second gap. Reimer took that lead on the first lap and has not looked back since. It's been a dominating display from the Ferrari so far. We'll have to wait and see if it stays that way. Idle North now within 0.2 of a second of Jag Greg. Is going to look for the inside here. Terrible camera angle the game giving me as usual. Side by side in towards turn 14. And Idle North having the inside line there. Oh, Jag Greg's going to strike back. Idle North has outbraked himself going into turn 14, and Greg has kept this spot after all. As Adonis on the way into the pit lane here. Oh, he's gone too fast. Oh, I thought he did. That was very close. Into the pit lane here. I'm assuming another set of intermediates going on. Yes, so that tells me, as we are pretty much at the pit window now, that it's going to be rain throughout the race here. I mean, anything can happen, but if you're going to put on another set of intermediate tires, that tells me that you don't necessarily anticipate the rain stopping anytime soon. Decisions. What we do see here is Bannicklash about half a second behind peak hour here. This is for the 10th spot. Currently one of the 2 closest battles on track. The other one actually involving peak hour's teammate of Idle North for the 8th spot. Getting very, very close there as they make their way through turns 9 and 10. Down the straight now, Bannicklash isn't going to have any room to make the spot happen for the time being. Although, if he gets a good enough exit out of 13, maybe a little bit of contact there. If he gets a good enough exit out of 13, he may just have the slipstream long enough. And I think peak hour has gotten away better than the McLaren in question. What we saw before, remember Bannicklash, that's where he lost the car, was turn 13 there, is now we do see Idle North to the inside of Jag Greg. This is for P8. And it looks as if Idle North this time, will he keep it? Jag Greg's going to have to go around the outside here. Still side by side through 16. And Jag Greg will keep the spot after all. That's the second time we have seen, as we now have the Mercedes of Weg off again. This time making his way into turn 1, just letting the leaders go by. DRS enabled now, which is odd. And I think, I don't know about you, but I still see rain on my screen. So DRS being enabled here is slightly odd. Put in a 5-second penalty for speeding the pit lane. I still see rain. Whether it's falling rain, well, on my screen it is falling rain. So DRS being enabled, I mean, that would tell me that the virtual race control think the track is dry enough to have DRS, but that doesn't make any sense. Although, I think, I'm not gonna lie, the rain, I think, may have actually stopped. Yeah, now that I look at it, yes, it has. The rain has stopped here. We are going to be looking at dry tires in just a little bit of time. We're going to go along here with Idle North just to confirm. As Reimer on his way in, so that would tell me we're going to be looking at the dries here very shortly, about halfway through the Grand Prix. Does DRS actually activate here? Yes, it does. DRS activated on a still greasy track surface. The top two of Reimer and Zench on the way in. Reimer, what has he chosen here? Probably the mediums. Yes, medium tires for the race leader. Zench behind in, he's going to be choosing the mediums as well. Marsbar in next. So if you're that of Adonis and Manny K, I think you may have stopped a bit too early there as medium tires going on here. As the track now, I mean, it still looks greasy, but it's not raining anymore. It's only going to get lighter. Drier is what I mean. Track surface is only going to get drier from here on out, but you can still see it. It does look still greasy. They're going to have to be careful on the cold tires here initially, and peak hour, well, he had a little bit of a slide there, but was able to catch the car. And if you're at the point now where you're losing grip on the intermediates, it is time for the dries. And we're finally going to see some DRS in play here. As we do have now the Mercedes of Adonis and Manny K. They're side by side going through those first couple of corners. I'll try to tag onto that battle now. Manny K behind actually has chosen the hard tires this time. Remember, this Shanghai circuit is very, very high in degradation, so being on the hard tires is actually doesn't surprise me all that much. I'm more surprised we see drivers on the mediums, as it looks as if Jag Greg has had an off there. Yes, he has. Peak hour to the inside of Fear Luke here. Peak hour still on the intermediate tires. Fear Luke on the outside on the dry medium compound tires. That's a big slide there from Peak hour. Well, he's able to hold on. Only just. That one got close, and, well, he's not even going to have DRS here because he was ahead at the detection zone. Idle North now going to try the inside of Steffen. Steffen still on the intermediate tires as they make their way into turn 13 down the backstretch now. Idle North to the inside, and I think he's going to get that spot relatively easily, but that Red Bull is still in pursuit. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say that position does now belong to Idle North as Peak Hour on his way in. Starting to see the final few drivers on the intermediates here. Peak Hour and Steffen will be in shortly. Gee, more drivers took the hard tires than I thought. The top 5 belong to the mediums. Stims has gone hard. DWCJ mediums. Idle North medium. As Manny K, fastest lap so far on the hard tires as well. 141.645. We're going to be seeing that fastest lap change hands a couple more times yet, as there goes Puddin, 140.657. More drivers have taken the hards than I initially thought there. We have Goon on the hards, Weg, and Greg, Manny K, and Banniclash, as well as Stims, the only drivers who have taken the hards. Again, that seems like maybe a mistake to me. This track, very high in degradation. Of course, we are about coming up to 10 laps to go here. But if you've ever driven this track, you know that the softs don't even last for more than 3 or 4 laps at good capacity. So, I mean, that tells me these mediums are going to be shot at the end of the Grand Prix here, as Reimer has a 13-second advantage over Zench. He does now set the fastest lap of a 137.678. Banniclash here now within a second of Idle North. This is for the 8th spot here. DRS is going to be activated as they make their way out of the corner. Zench fastest lap now, 137.354. Down the backstretch they go. Banniclash picks up DRS a second and a half behind Idle North. Again, they have moved the DRS activation line down the straight about 300 meters, where you would have had it pretty much immediately coming out of turn 13. It's not that way anymore. They've pretty much actually chopped that DRS zone about in half, really. So if you're wondering how that gap got so big despite still having DRS, that would be the reason why. What we do have now, DWCJ here about 0.8 of a second away from Stims, doing his best. although not close enough. Manny K now 0.8 of a second behind Jag Greg, and the closest battle on track, that of Peak Hour, 3.5 of a second behind Jag Cheb. This is for the 13th position here as they make their way through turns 1, 2, and 3. Remember, this will be the only stop for the dry compound tires unless punctures or accidents happen. When you do have the rain like that, the tire rules go out the window pretty much. You could have stopped for whatever tire you wanted and not have to stop again, and that's what they've done. 0.5 of a second here for DWCJ back to Stims. Reimer a 1:36 flat. Fastest lap for him, still 13.5 seconds ahead of Zench here for the top spot. DWCJ now, even without the aid of DRS, down to the inside of Stims, and he's made that one happen slightly too easily, has to be said. We'll open up the penalties here for a minute. Now, DWCJ was well alongside the Red Bull there, and then got DRS anyways, and he's now got about 0.8 of a second ahead. As we look behind now, Adonis and Baniklash side by side, wheel to wheel here, exiting turn 14 and 15. Adonis is not going to have the spot this time. Baniklash does stay ahead. For the time being, both of these drivers trying to recover positions lost here. As Adonis down the inside, he'll have the position in towards turn 1. Both of these drivers looking to claw back the positions lost in the opening couple of laps there. Remember, Baniklash had a spin coming out of turn 13. Adonis just had a poor start altogether after starting, what was it, third on the grid? Down to 9th now. And unfortunately, a lot of time in between the drivers ahead. It's going to be very unlikely that it makes up more than a couple of more positions unless there's a safety car come out and really impact this race. That would be my only other guess. Next time by, we'll have 10 laps to go. As Manny K... Oh, I think Greg may have gone off. Yes, he has. He's gone very wide. This is going out of turn 8. He was well into the runoff area. And Manny K will take that spot. Zench now with the fastest lap at 1:34.622. And if you're curious to the upcoming rounds here, we do have the Albert Park Circuit in Australia next week, March the 3rd. For round 5, Belgium round 6, which is the reverse sprint event. We take the reverse order of the championship standings, put them in the sprint, and then the sprint results dictates the qualifying, and now the grid is starting to get odd here. As Reimer is still the lead of this Grand Prix. It doesn't... Yeah, anyways. Spain after that for round 7, the 17th. Monaco, what could be a full qualifying session, or just not even Monaco at all. For round 8, France for round 9, round 10, Great Britain, and then Las Vegas rounding out the season. Now, don't let the standings deceive you here. Reimer is still that top spot. I'm not entirely sure why it's saying that we do have Rise atop the table. That is just plain not right. Adonis here looking to idle north. For whatever position this is, it's 0.3 of a second and closing here. Bit of a slip there from Idle North, making their way through turns 12 and 13. There we go. I think it may have fixed itself there, although Rise is now down to P19 behind the Aston Martin of Goon. I think that, or the AlphaTauri of Goon. I think that actually might be correct now. Well, here's Adonis looking to the inside of Idle North. This is for P8, and he's got that position, not necessarily easily, but good enough there. Whether he holds on to it is going to be the question, as Idle North well wide out of turn 14 and 15, and he will once again be relegated to the ninth spot. Now keep in mind, the thing is done a wrong, and again, this is actually for the 14th spot. for the 13th spot, rather. Rise is being shown atop the table despite being behind. I believe actually might be now the Mercedes of WEG as well. Not entirely sure. This battle, though, however, 0.6 of a second between the two. Once again, let's make it clear, Rise is not the leader of the Grand Prix. I don't know, again, why it says that, but the game thinks he is because he's leading his way into the first corner. As Idle North, a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. That is not going to help him very much. As they make their way through turns 1 and 2, unless somehow Rise is improved that many positions in one go. Yet there he is again, now back down to P19 where he belongs. Reimer has a 10-second advantage over Zench in the second spot. Marsbar as a 10-second deficit behind to Zenshin. Well, nearly has 10 seconds on P4 of Fear Luke. Jag Cheb here trying to find the inside of Peak Hour. And I think he's done it quite well. Yes, he has. The grid, bit spread out now. I mean, you come to expect that after you had the pit stops at that point. Oh, that was wide out of the final corner there was Jag Greg. Peak Hour, or sorry, it was Cheb. Peak Hour will then get down the inside. Cheb had gone quite wide out of the 16th corner. Not a lot of grip there once you go off track. And that would explain why the move was made. Once again, Rise incorrectly being shown atop the table. He currently resides P19. Reimer has the lead of the Grand Prix so far. Sometimes it gets confused with this when a driver is nearly a lap down, as we're going to see Reimer. I think if we do see Rise go off here, it's because he'll be ceding to the blue flags, which on my screen won't exist, but it will certainly happen because Rise is genuinely off the pace down in P19. But thankfully, that is the only position that's being incorrectly displayed. I'm going to knock on wood really quick, just because I do not like where this is going. As DWCJ now getting down to the inside, around the outside, rather, of Maple Ace, as they're going to swap positions yet again. Still around the outside is that of DWCJ. He'll have the inside now going through 16, and it looks as if he's going to hold that spot over Maple Ace. Good little battle there. Currently one of the closest battles on track. There you go. Now this for the time being. Oh, and it's gone again. I was about to say, that for the time being was correct. Seeing Rise in 19th. What we do see now is Cheb and Peak Hour side by side. This is making their way through 14 and 15 here. Cheb will get out ahead of the Alfa Romeo in question. Those two have been battling for quite some time so far. We'll have 6 laps to go next time by. Just a reminder, Rise is now being incorrectly shown in second place. He currently resides P19. That is, for the time being, the only mishap we see on the timing charts. This is now Maple Ace, 6.5 tenths back to DWCJ for the 6th spot. For the time being, neither one of these drivers look as if they have an advantage over each other, although there you see DWCJ trying to break the toe, as we have there. That is one of the Alpine drivers. It is that of Jag Greg, who has spun coming out of turn 10. This is in between turns 9 and 10 here. And unfortunately, the day for the Alpine team goes from bad to worse, as it has been relatively one to forget for those two drivers. That part has to be said, both down 8 positions respectively. Peak Hour now down to the inside of Jag Cheb, this being for the 12th spot. And Peak Hour for the time being, looks as if he's going to make that one happen. Yes, he will. Reimer. Quite a good lead over the rest of the grid here. I would say exactly what it is, but I'm not entirely sure, as once again it's incorrectly showing Rise's second place when we know that's not correct. Maple Ace here about 0.8 of a second away from DWCJ. This is being for the 6th spot. Next time by, we'll have 5 laps to go. As a matter of fact, this time by. What's been an interesting Chinese Grand Prix so far, and still a decent amount of racing left to be had, is I believe in comes one of the AlphaTauris. I believe it might be Goon. Yes, it is. Goon is retired. So that'll promote Rise up to P18. As the grid, unfortunately, is slightly spread out here. We did have the weather throughout the first half of the Grand Prix, and it's only become dry here rather recently, as Reimer, a 5-second penalty for ignoring the yellow flag. Now, as we do have, that is the other Alpine, that is Jag Greg, off there coming out of turn 10. Oi! And he's gotten in front of put in there. That was coming out of turn 10, second lap in a row. We've seen that happen, as I believe now we're seeing one of the Williams of Mars Bar, perhaps, or it's either that or it's one of the AlphaTauris trying to make their way out of the way. I think it is that of the robot of Goon, who's come back out on track despite retiring in the pit lane. Remember, Rise, again, is being incorrectly shown in second place there. He currently resides P18. We do have now Banniclash within half a second of Idle North here. Bergen actually within a couple of tenths here of Jag Greg. This is making their way in towards turn 16. And it looks as if Bergen is not going to have the spot quite yet. Banniclash now about 0.4 of a second behind Idle North. This is for the 10th spot. Of course, Idle North has the 3-second time penalty to be concerned with here. Reimer, for the time being, still looks like he's in a good spot over Zench, despite having the 5-second time penalty for ignoring yellow flags, which I believe he can probably get taken off. Oh, and around goes Banniclash. Now this is, and that heavy into the inside wall, and he's reset the track rather immediately. That's the second time we've seen that McLaren go off in that section of the track, and unfortunately now he's missing front wing to boot. It's not going to be helpful for him. As Rise now correctly being shown in P18 for the time being. And there it is back again. 0.3 of a second here between Jag, Cheb, and Peak Hour for the 12th position. 0.6 of a second, and starting to close again. These two drivers have been very close to each other, but Cheb is, well, he's been making quite a good amount of mistakes so far here today. Banniclash on his way in, having to get that front wing replaced. That was going to be pretty obvious there. .5 of a second now. Next time by, we'll have 3 laps of racing remaining here, as Reimer making his way around the line. 3 laps to go here for the Ferrari in the lead by quite some margin over Zench, despite having a 5-second penalty here. Oh, sorry, that's Manny K in the McLaren there. That's coming out of turn 9. That car may have taken a trip through the gravel. No front wing damage, still unhelpful. 3 laps to go here. Remember, if you're just joining us again, the Aston Martin of Rise incorrectly being shown in 3rd place. He is currently residing P18. Four and a half tenths of a second trying to close in here. Jag Cheb looking good, but Peak Hour is going to have quite the run on him here as they make their way with DRS now down to the inside, looking for turn 14 and 15, and the Alfa Romeo is going to have that one quite easily there. But does Jag Cheb have the ability to strike back down to the inside? Maybe a little bit of contact was made there. Tough to tell, but what I do know is that the Alfa Romeo does get that spot. To the outside now is Jag Cheb with DRS down the pit straight, and it looks as if he will get around peak hour once more there. Reimer's going to be making his way back to the line here with 2 laps to go in the Chinese Grand Prix. Still the closest battle on track, barring that of Bergen back to Greg. Mind you, this is the closest battle on track where penalties are not going to determine any position, so it does seem as if peak hour here, 8.5 tenths. Although slightly starting to get further away from that of Jag Cheb. These two have been battling for a good amount of the race here. A lot of good battles up and down the grid so far here today. That's absolutely what it seemed. The weather not helping as Maple Ace picks up a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. That will drop him at least that 1 spot to Stims from P6 down to P7. As Reimer making his way through turns 12 and 13 here for the penultimate time on what has been a dominating, or a dominant Chinese Grand Prix for him. Started second, needed a good result here. Had the ability to really make some headway in this championship battle here between himself and Zench. And Maple Ace in that battle as well, but Reimer needed this. After I don't want to say a poor start to the season for the reigning champion, but not the best result in Bahrain. Last week for Zench at least was the ability of side-by-side. Now is Bergen and Bannicklash. And I think Bannicklash has gone well off track there. Yes, he is. He's losing spots to both Bergen and Jag Greg. Unfortunate for him, as now the Williams will get down to the inside of Ryzen. We at least have the podium 3 correct here, as Reimer making his way into turn 6 for the final time. Stims a couple of tenths to Maple Ace here. We still have peak hour back to Jag Cheb. This is making their way through 12 and 13. And it looks as if peak hour is going to need one hell of an exit here to get around Jag Cheb as they make their way. DRS is going to be activated here, but I don't think he's going to have enough real estate to help him. And that is probably going to be his final attempt. Nearly went into the back of Jag Cheb there. He had really gotten late on the brakes. Let's see if it decides to finish them here. It does say lap 28, so we'll have to wait and see. And nope, they are going to go one more, the pair. The two drivers here of Putin and Bergen, these guys are battling for position. That was a lot of contact there. Mind you, still on some penalties, but Reimer making his way in through turn 16 now has led from start to finish. Despite starting second place, he will come across the line, and the reigning champion will win the Chinese Grand Prix. Here in round 4, Zench is going to come across the line now. He will finish second. In what was a rather quiet day from Zench, unusually quiet. Marsbar up next to finish third. Marsbar doing well here to, I think, actually had a really good race. Up 5 spots for him. I think driver of the day is going to belong to that of Fear Luke, up 7. Rise is going to come across here to incorrectly finish. Yeah, well, there's that of Fear Luke. Rise making his way into the first corner now. I think finally it looks as if the grid is going to sort itself out here as he's plummeting down the order, but let's see. Oh, that was the Ferrari of Bergen on the final corner, and several cars go around. Well, I think Bergen initially had lost it. This isn't the final corner. This is turn 12. Bergen had lost it coming out of turn 10, collected the McLaren of Bannicklash, and somehow the Williams of Putin gets ahead. Well, he's missing the end plate on the left front side, but Jag Greg, a 10-second penalty for exceeding track limits. I'm not rightly sure what's happened with that, but Rise incorrectly being scored 9th. But Reimer, your winner today here in Shanghai. in a race that's going to have a lot of implications for this championship. The championship leader coming into today of Zench, finishes second. Another good result for him. But that is even more going to close up the battle between the top three. But the Ferrari of Reimer, your winner today. As Bergen retires, that being in front of the pit stand there. Not even made it to the line. Jack Craig's going to take the spot. Comfortable win. Congrats, Reimer. Very comfortable win there. And Reimer, a driver who kind of recently has been on a streak of not as good races, has to be said. You know, last season's champion, but the tail end of last season, entering the first couple of rounds of this season, and he needed a good result today, and I think he may have found his form once again. He has dominated this one. All right, well, this is taking a hot minute here. And Reimer taking the top step of the podium here. Zench second. Williams of Marsbar in third. Well, after it's all said and done here in Shanghai for the fourth round of the season, it is that of Reimer taking the win here. Zench in second, Marsbar in third. As I don't even know if we're going to be able to get the results screen here as the timer's going. But we don't see the results. I want to once again reiterate that Rise was incorrectly displayed. I think in P9 is what it ended up giving him. He did finish, matter of fact, P18. We're not even going to get to see the results screen here. That's good news. But, there it is, and it's gone. Well, anyways, if you could screenshot fast enough to see that, or if you could pause the video, that'd be great. But, thank you for joining us here. Thank you once again for allowing us into your homes and onto your phones. And next week, we head to the Albert Park Circuit for the fifth round of the season, and what is shaping up to be a very good season of that with several drivers in contention for this championship. Hotspot has been a pleasure once again joining you here on the JAG Sunday Series, and we'll see you next time.